Welcome back, everybody. Now today I've got yet another As Seen on TV product, this one highly requested and on the relatively new side. This is the Stretch and Fresh, which are kitchen containers that have an unusual lid that actually allows you to put oversized food in it. Reviews are kind of mixed on this one, so I'm gonna get to the bottom of it in today's video. Now before I get to my test, let's get to the overview and the unboxing. Let's take a quick look at the packaging here. It says 12-piece set. Now that means 6 containers. They're counting the lid as a piece. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I guess this is not part of the set. Stretch, seal, lock, space saving, BPA free, leak resistant with soups and sauces. Now leak resistant, that's not leak proof. Microwave safe, dishwasher safe, freezer safe. They show some examples of how it's being used, so let's check it out. And of course, as seen on TV. We've got some instructions, which I will read over. Arbitration agreement, which I'll add to my collection. So it looks like each one has 4 snaps on it. That is different. Interesting, huh? The claims on this are that it keeps food fresh longer, a microwave and dishwasher safe, snap lock lids. The stretchable silicone covers will cover any dish. Adjustable date dial. Where's that at? Oh, right there. Not real easy to read, but it's there. I think the Amazon page says leak proof. The packaging says leak resistant. We shall see. Microwave safe reheat only. Freezer safe to -40 Celsius. Dishwasher safe top rack only. Now the people on Amazon who reviewed this and liked it said that it was easy to open and close, durable, great for irregular size items, and easy to clean. Now the Amazon cons said that it's hard to open and close, poor quality, not freezer friendly, not airtight, too small. Actually, a lot of people mention it being too small. There's quite a few cons listed, but I'm not going to list them all. Someone was complaining on the Amazon page that it doesn't list the actual sizes of these, so let me measure these out real quick. The big one is roughly 8.5 inches by 5 3/4, 3 inches deep. Oh wow, that one is not easy to get on, is it? I haven't even started using it yet as I'm having problems with this. Well, I'll just measure it anyways. Roughly 7 inches by 4 3/4 by 2.5. This is a very small container. How useful is that going to be? What are you going to put in here? Cherry tomatoes? I don't know. A little over 3, 4.5, 1 3/4. About 6 by 4 by 2. This is it's like 5 3/4 square by 2.5, 4.5 by 2. There's your sizes. Now let's rinse these off and get started. All right, so I've looked at the commercials, I've read all the Amazon comments. Today I'm gonna try to duplicate some of the advertising demonstrations and see if they actually work in the real world. The first test I'm gonna try is with the large container. I have a slight fear that it could break it, but I wanna get that one out of the way first and see if it actually works. In the demonstration, they show a red bell pepper and they push the lid all the way to the bottom with it. Now my red bell pepper is actually a little taller than theirs, so I'm gonna put mine on the side instead of tall ways, just to be fair, but let's see if it actually works like they show. Again, their bell pepper was not as tall, so I don't want to be unfair, so I'm going to put it on the side. This is about the height they showed. They took the lid of the large container and pushed it all the way down. I just fear that's going to break it. Let's see. Ooh. I guess I am getting all the way to the bottom. That's pretty good. All right, you know what? It seemed less impressive when I actually did it because I could feel the lid bending, but I guess it passed. We'll give it a pass on that one. These are just preliminaries though. These are not the real test. So let's just keep going with something else they showed. They filled a container with large marshmallows. I guess kind of like that. And they just push the lid down. Oh, I guess you're gonna have the problem of the edges. Let me see if I can lock that easily. People were saying online that these are hard to lock. Some people said they were easy to lock. All right, that kind of worked. You got this little bump here, so it does accommodate a larger size. And watch them grow back to the normal size. That's just amateur hour. Those are just the warm-up acts. Let's get to the real test now. I'm gonna start with a small container. They did show in their commercial it holding grapes. I mean, it doesn't hold a lot though. I mean, that's not very much at all. It's like a handful of grapes. Let me see, I actually have a handful of grapes. I'm gonna put as many as I can kind of squeeze in there and see if the lid will actually accommodate that. I guess if you're sending this to lunch and lunchbox to school or something maybe. Something else I'm noticing here, there's a border right there that you can't have the food go beyond or it's just gonna smash it like the lid. You really have to keep that border in mind when you're covering the food. It takes some force. But I did it. Look at this, not bad. I'm gonna say it's a pass. So far, so good. The next test is not a test of the lid, but how leak-proof it is. They say leak-resistant on the packaging. The commercial shows them pouring soup in there and shaking it, so I'm gonna try that and see how leak-proof they really are. Can of soup. Ooh, I'm suddenly kind of nervous about this. The locking seems like it's a bit iffy. Sometimes it goes right on, sometimes I gotta struggle with it. And, oh. This is what they were doing in the commercial. You know what? It's leak-proof. Wow. You know what? I'm actually, honestly, I'm surprised that it is. I expected that to fail miserably and it didn't. You know, so far, the Stretch and Fresh is actually impressing me. So next, I'm trying to duplicate some of the advertisements. They've got some celery in the commercial that's stacked on its end. I'm gonna try that and see how the lid handles that. So what I'm gonna do is just kind of put some in here like this, and I'm gonna fill in the rest with some baby carrots. You would think that would be challenging. Most lids would not accommodate this, but let's see. Once again, we have this border that is a problem. So anything that's gonna stick above the actual edge is gonna have to be about 1/4 of an inch away from the edge, or you're gonna have this border causing problems. So I kind of push these away from the center. Here we go. Uh-oh. I hear like kind of a tearing sound. I don't know if that's the celery making noise or if it's the lid. Ugh. It's not closing. Oh. I'm getting less impressed every second here. Come on. Come on, you're almost there. Woo. That was a bit of a workout. I did get it complete and it looks pretty good. I was a little worried there. I heard some sounds that sounded like it was gonna tear through there, but maybe that was the celery getting smashed. I'm not sure. But you know what? In the end, it looks pretty good. Was it a lot of work? Yes. Is there better ways of doing this? Probably. It did work. I gotta give them credit for that. Let's move up to the largest container now. Something they showed in there was fried chicken. I have something that I picked up from the store. It looks kind of similar to what they have. Let's try it out. We kind of want this to stick up a little bit. Just like, perfect. That's perfect. It's sticking up. So a normal container would not close over that. That's exactly the situation we want. So as you can see, the chicken is protruding above the top of the container. Oh, is it hard to close sometimes? All right, there it goes. It wasn't too bad. And there it goes. All right. Testing freshness is not something that's always very easy to do, but I figured the time I have, I would try an avocado. That's something that goes bad pretty quickly. So I'm gonna try one in the Stretch and Fresh and one with just kind of a loose wrap and plastic wrap and compare the difference between the two of them. I've got 2 halves of 2 different avocados and I'm putting the other halves in the cling wrap. Just in case one of these avocados is more ripe than the others. These are the other 2 halves from 2 avocados that I put in the container. Just gonna wrap it up, putting these in the fridge and then checking them tomorrow. This test is of my favorite, not really, food. They show an onion like that, and the other half kind of like that. I'm not sure how you're gonna do that because you really need to account for that border. So I'm not sure, maybe like that. That would be a better way of doing it, I think. Oh, this is not easy. Sometimes it's difficult, sometimes it's not. The funny thing about the onion is the way they show it, I guess it's for demonstration purposes, they have the 1 half down and 1 half up. I don't even know how you do that. You have to balance it, I guess. All right, so here we are. The avocado is already in the fridge because I put that in there quickly, but the rest of them are going in the fridge right now. I should point out, they say these are stackable. They might be stackable when they're empty or when they don't have something protruding out of the top, but when you have something like this, that's not gonna be very stackable. So these are all going in the fridge now. Tomorrow I'll check them all. I'll see how they held up. I'll wash them all and use them the rest of the week and then give you my final results. Let you know how they've held up. All right, it's day 2. I have not looked at these yet. I'm gonna pull them out of the fridge and see how they look. All right, here's the onion, still looks good. Here's the soup. Now I had something sitting on top of that. It looks like it kind of caved in a little bit. Is it still leak proof? Still leak proof, good. You see the grapes look pretty good. Veggies. This one I was worried about. I thought maybe it was gonna poke through, but it's still holding in there. Chicken looks pretty good. Let me look at the avocado a little bit more closely. All right, if I compare them to the wrapped avocado, they're pretty close. They're pretty close. I think I should go another day and see what happens. This is going back in the fridge. What I wanna do is open these up and see if the lids actually retain their shape or if they're stretched out or what happens. Grapes. Oops. All right, so the container part I'm not too worried about. Let me see the lid. The lid looks, looks decent. It's like it's kind of retained its shape for the most part. Put this back on here. I think the lid has held up well with the first use of the onion. When I opened that up, the smell definitely wafted out of there. So the odors did seem to stay in there. I didn't notice the onion smell in my fridge last night, so that's a good thing. The hard part is lining it up, because usually a lot of lids just kind of, they go right in the right place. This one doesn't, you can't really tell when it's in the right spot. Chicken. This one was kind of poking through here. Let's see. I don't think the lid's any worse for wear. Once again, is that in the right spot? See, there's kind of some give. This is the one I was most concerned about. Let's try it out. You know, the lid, it looks like it may have stretched out a little bit, but I'm not sure. It's doing pretty well. I put this back on. This is a struggle. Wow, why is that so difficult? Ugh. It's weird because the comments, some said that the lids were difficult to put on, some said they were easy to put on. I'm finding it's one or the other, so I'm actually kind of feeling like both are right. What I'm gonna do now is take the soup. You can't microwave the lid, so I'm gonna take the lid off and microwave it and see how the container does. Because I can't use a lid, some people put a paper towel, some people use a splatter guard. I'm partial to the paper plate. So let's warm this soup up and see how it goes. And here we go. I'm hoping it holds up well in the microwave. It's just a plastic container. It should. All right, so the container doesn't look like it's any worse for wear after being in the microwave. So what I'm gonna do now is eat my soup. I'm gonna put all the containers in the dishwasher because the instructions does say dishwasher safe top rack. So I'm gonna see how they do after a day in the dishwasher. I'm gonna check the avocados once again and then wrap this thing up. All right, after a second day in the fridge, let's take a look at the avocados and see how they turned out. I guess it's a little bit better. Not much. Is it better? I don't know. It's not a significant difference. I guess, I don't know what I expected, but I expected more than that. Can I close it easily? Of course not. Oh, there we go. There you go. Well, I tried, right? So they came out of the dishwasher. Let's take a closer look at how that went. For the most part, they came out pretty much no worse for wear. Most of the lids actually look pretty good. One thing I have noticed is the two square lids actually have a little bit of a film on them. I thought maybe that was just maybe my dishwasher. Maybe they sat in there weird and water sat on there. So I have the two square lids here. This is the smaller square lid. I have not touched this since it came out of the dishwasher. That's exactly how it looked. Not very good. And you might think, well, that's just on your end. That's just soap film. Yet none of the others seem to have that problem, so I'm not sure. The larger square lid I've actually washed by hand about 5 times, and this is how it looks after the 5th washing. It's still kind of cloudy. It doesn't make sense that some of them turned out good in the dishwasher and some didn't, so I have no explanation for that. This particular lid looks a little bit bowed. That's the large container. Let's see. Can I get it on there again? Sometimes the lid is easy to put on, sometimes it's not. Put it on upside down because it's easier. I did get it to go on there even though it's a little bit bowed now. So as far as the pros and cons of the Stretch and Fresh goes, I can see actually how both pros and cons on Amazon seem to pan out. Sometimes the lids are very easy to put on, sometimes they're not. I'm not sure they really keep everything unusually fresh, but it does seem to hold the soup in, so it does seem leak proof. I'm gonna keep using them. I think that they're pretty good. I don't know how long these lids are gonna hold up. That's gonna be something interesting I'll have to update down the road. But I would say after our first few days, the Stretch and Fresh to me works pretty well. Is it worth 20 bucks? I'm not quite sure yet. But if you've used the Stretch and Fresh, tell me what you think in the comments below. I appreciate you watching, and I'll see you next time.